The House is resumed for the extended sitting. Call on Government Orders of the Day numbers 1 and 2.
Tuhoe Claims Settlement Bill to Urewera Bill, third reading.
Point of order to Urewera level.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. Kia ora tātou, ko tā mai tēnei ata. Mr. Speaker, reo Māori nei.
Proceed.
I tēnei rangi, ko tā mai nai Tuhoe, mā tātua waka ki tēnei rangi whakahirahira. I roto i ngā tikanga o te ao Māori, ko te mahi tuatai, ko te tuku i ngā whakamoemeti, kamutu ko te tuku i tētahi karakia hei wāwāhi ngā kōrero. Ko tāku ko te pātai ki te wharepāre mata nei, kia tukuna te kupu tuatahi kia ngai Tuhoe ki te tuku i tētahi karakia, hei wāwāhi ngā kōrero, kamutu, ka rere ngā kōrero. Ko nei te inoi, he pātai noa ki te whare, kia pērā rawa tātai.
Yeah. Okay, the best way we can handle this is that leave has been sought for a karakia by Ngā Tuhoe before we proceed. I'll put the leave. Is there anyone opposed to that, a course of action? There appears not. Leave is granted.
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Chris Finlayson.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Tuhoe Claims Settlement Bill and Te Urewera Bill be now read a third time. Tuhoe rohe, tuhoe tangata, no mai haere mai ki te whare paramata. Nā koutou te kaha, nā koutou te maia, kua tūtuki pai tēnei mahi nui, tēnei mahi whakahira-hira. He rā nui tēnei mō koutou, me nā uri ki kei te haere mai, he rā nui tēnei mō tātou katoa. Rōrangatira mā, huri noa I tēnei whare, tēnei taku mihi atu ki a koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. And to all members of Ngāi Tuhoe watching this debate up and down the valleys of Te Urewera, in Waikare Moana, in Taniatua, and other places, I send you my best wishes and the best wishes of the Crown. Mr. Speaker, this is a significant day for Ngāi Tuhoe, for the Crown, and for this country. It's a significant day also for this House. For 118 years ago, this House passed legislation which would have achieved a lot of what this legislation sets out to achieve had the Crown only lived up to its obligations. So today we revisit some of the very issues debated by this chamber in September 1896. We're debating two bills today. The Tuhoe Claims Settlement Bill necessarily focuses on the past, and I encourage every New Zealander watching or listening to this debate to read clauses 9 and 10 of the Tuhoe Claims Settlement Bill. Clause 9 lists the Crown acknowledgements of past actions, some of the worst in our history. That clause will not make comfortable reading for any New Zealander. Clause 10 then enacts in statute an apology through which, as subclause 7 says, the Crown hopes to build afresh its relationship with Tuhoe for current and for future generations. I will give the formal apology when I go to Taniatua on 22 August. I want, however, to concentrate my brief remarks this morning on the Te Urewera Bill, which sets out the arrangements for what is currently Te Urewera National Park. Tuhoe spent the 20th century essentially locked out of involvement in their own homeland. The promises made in the Urewera District Native Reserve Act 1896 were never kept. That act was never honoured and eventually repealed without any input from Ngāi Tuhoe. Then in 1954, the Crown made a unilateral declaration that Te Urewera was to become a national park. Today, sir, we begin to remedy that history. Te Urewera will no longer be a national park. Instead, it will have its own legal identity. It reflects a Tuhoe view of Te Urewera as having an identity in its own right, not as a mere possession, but a treasured place that requires respect and careful stewardship. Te Urewera will be governed by a board formed of Crown and Tuhoe appointees. For the first 3 years, while that board establishes itself, it will consist of 4 members appointed by Tuhoe and 4 by the Crown. After 3 years, the board will consist of 6 members appointed by Tuhoe and 3 by the Crown, a Tuhoe majority. But there's nothing particularly novel in this arrangement. The commissions set up under the 1896 Act consisted of 7 commissioners, 2 Pākehā and 5 Tuhoe. The board will be required to act in the best interests of Te Urewera. It will develop and approve a management plan, make decisions on concessions and other permits, and undertake other statutory functions. It must at all times promote unanimous or consensus decision-making and promote the highest level of collaboration. Most importantly, the board will work to enhance Te Urewera as a place of outstanding natural, recreational and cultural value, a place that can be enjoyed by everyone. Public access will be unaffected. Tuhoe has always welcomed visitors, and I know they are looking forward to welcoming visitors to Te Urewera under these new arrangements. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to leave it for other speakers to talk about some of the other detail of the bill. I emphasise, moreover, that the redress proposed in this bill does not preclude any future redress that may be agreed with other iwi and hapu who have interests in Te Urewera. The Waitangi Tribunal has considered these issues and found this to be the case. I make this clear, indeed I belabour the point, because some members of this House seem to be hopelessly misled on the matter. It's a pity that on a day like today we have to bother with some of the antics of those who like to twist a good news story to fit their own yearning for constant publicity. Mr. Speaker, as this is a third reading speech, I want to acknowledge a number of people whose contributions should be recorded in Hansard. First, Tamati Kruger and Kirsty Luke. They are together a class act. They have done a great job for Ngāi Tuhoe. It has been an honour to work with them. I also acknowledge the other trustees. They have worked so very hard to hold the Crown accountable for its wrongs generations ago and to negotiate a just and a durable settlement. I acknowledge the many kaumātua who are no longer with us for the role that they played over many years, keeping the fires burning for Ngāi Tuhoe and for their repeated attempts to resolve issues with the Crown. Mr. Speaker, I want to pay a very special tribute to my Chief Crown negotiator, John Wood. Tim Grosser said to me, if you want a good negotiator, go for John Wood, and he's been a great negotiator. And I also want to acknowledge Lil Anderson, Clinton Geeves, Rachel Holbrook, and all their colleagues at the Office of Treaty Settlements, because their work has been outstanding. They are skilled and dedicated professionals. I want to acknowledge the Select Committee, so ably chaired by my friend and colleague Tuhoe. And I also acknowledge Te Urewera Flavel, a great MP and a good parliamentary friend of mine, who's always been there to give wise counsel at difficult times. Mr. Speaker, I acknowledge the Right Honourable Jim Bolger, who's going to be a member of the board. I remember the late Dame Judith Binney and the late Sir Rodney Gallen. Both of them would love to have been here today. Sir Rodney was for many years a judge of the High Court, but more important than that, he was a great friend of Ngāi Tuhoe. I remember having lunch with him shortly before his death, and he was emphatic. He said to me on more than one occasion, the Crown has to settle with Ngāi Tuhoe. Finally, sir, I want to acknowledge my ministerial colleagues, particularly the Prime Minister, the Honourable Bill English, and the Honourable Jerry Brownlee and the Honourable Nick Smith for all their support. It takes political courage to do what we're doing today. This is indeed a momentous step. But what we are doing should not be surprising, because what we're doing is honouring a promise that lay unfulfilled throughout the 20th century. This is the second chance the Crown has to get this right. This time it must do so. It indeed has been a fascinating and absorbing negotiation. I remember going with Tim Grosser, who was then Minister of Conservation, and he and I were shown the Tuhoe Rohe by Basil. I don't know whether Basil's here this morning. I sent him my best wishes. We went from Ruatoki to Waikere Moana, looking at key sites. I remember a journalist asking me how many hectares I thought Tuhoe had lost over the years. I waffled because I wasn't sure, but I sure know now. That is why I'm so convinced that this settlement is absolutely necessary for the country. So, sir, the bill has its third reading today. Then in a few days, it will go to the Governor-General to be signed into law. From the day this legislation comes into force, Tuhoe will play the leading role in the future of their homeland, Te Urewera. More than that, what this House does today will provide the foundation for a new relationship between the Crown and Ngāi Tuhoe, a relationship in which I hope we will together walk and work for our mutual honour, our dignity, advantage and progress. Mr. Speaker, I commend the bill to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to.
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Nanaia Mahuta.
I ngā mana o ngā marae,